Thanks, Dr. Beneath. Um, Thank you guys so much for having me here today to BharathMD Foundation. I'm sitting here as you were telling us all the different things that you've done in less than a year. Less than a year, March 7th. You've accomplished so much. Um, that is something to be applauded, and that's just an incredible, incredible thing. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to talk about the role of physical therapy with DMD. And Dr. Vineeth talked about the role of the doctors and the multidisciplinary team in the role of DMD. And some of us that work with Duchenne, the medical professionals, some of us are a little bit smart, some are not, but we do our best. But the parent organizations like BharathMD, you guys are the ones that are pushing us, okay? I might know about physical therapy. Dr. Vineeth knows about the medical and the science of it, but you know your children best. We don't. Even if we work with your child for a while, you know them best. You know what makes them respond, what sets them off, what helps, what doesn't. So it's important for you guys to be involved in the process with physical therapy. That's so, so important. Whenever I'm working with a child, I involve the parents. And I encourage you, when your child is going to the doctor, when your child is getting physical therapy, be involved in that process so you can learn what to do at home. I'm only with the child doing physical therapy for a short amount of time. You're with them every day. So what you're doing with them as parents, as caregivers, as siblings, is so much more important than what I'm doing with them for a brief amount of time. All of this stuff, when this was being presented, BharathMD, your vision, your mission, the approach, the goal, I love this. This is beautiful. This is what as medical professionals, we should be following too. When I was looking at my presentation last night to make sure that everything was okay, what I was going to keep in and what I was going to keep out, from Dr. Vineeth and I going around to many different parts of India, I'm acutely aware that there are differences between how things are done in the US and how things are done in India. And I'm not trying to stand before you today and say everything should be the same, because I understand that the access to equipment, the access to care, how the roads are built, how the schools are built, all those things are different. But the slides, when I was looking at them last night, I think what I want to talk with you about today is true for anywhere, any country. It doesn't matter, because they're basic human things that we're going to be talking about. So this is a little bit about me. We don't need to spend time on that. You already talked about that. So the role of the physical therapist, it's important. It's difficult sometimes to find a therapist that knows about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And this is really, really important, because the approach with Duchenne muscular dystrophy from the physical therapist is very different than other pediatric conditions. So what I'm recommending, what I'm doing, my approach, my goals for somebody with DMD, I'm working very differently than somebody that has, let's say, cerebral palsy or spina bifida. So we're trained, when we come out of physical therapy school, we're trained on a little bit of everything. And a lot of the pediatric things that we work on are based on strengthening, improving the strength of the child. If they can't go up the stairs, we have them work on going up and down the stairs. If they can't get up off the floor because they're weak, we try to make them stronger so that they can get up off the floor. With DMD, it's different. Dr. Vineeth went into all this. There's an issue with how the muscle is constructed and that missing dystrophin protein. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, to build new muscle, to build strength. So if you're presented with a physical therapist that wants to if you have a 6-year-old or 8-year-old and they want to work on strengthening with your child, on getting them stronger, this is not the right approach. That can actually do harm. And so we want to be very careful about that. So what physical therapy looks like is going to look different at different stages. It's different for somebody that's ambulatory. It's different for somebody that's non-ambulatory. But the physical therapy is still important at every stage. And these are just some of the things that are going to be involved in a physical therapy session, whether it's in the home or it's in a hospital or a clinic. These are going to be the things that we're going to work on. A lot of this involves communication and education with you guys, like I said before. So important that you have an understanding of what we're doing. You don't have to be an expert in DMD. You don't have to know every single part of the science or be a physical therapist as a parent or a caregiver, but understanding the basics and that we're not trying to do strengthening. We're trying to slow down the progression. That's important. I put on here appropriate exercise. It was thought for a long time that we don't want to do any exercise with these kids because the muscle will just break down if we do anything. The thought on this is changing. We still want to be careful about doing heavy work, heavy lifting, going up and down the stairs, running on a treadmill, jumping, hopping, things like that. But there's not enough research, but there's a little bit of research that's starting to come out, both in humans and also in the mouse model, that's showing that there's an appropriate amount of exercise that can be beneficial, may be able to build a little bit of muscle, but can slow down the progression of the disease without causing damage to the muscle. So they did these low intensity, low levels of exercise with these guys, and then looked at MRIs to see if there was muscle damage. The ones that were doing the exercise, these low levels of exercise, declined slower and didn't show evidence or showed very little evidence of muscle breakdown. So we're still learning. One of the issues with this disease is, as Dr. Vineeth alluded to, there's so many variations. So you take somebody with the same exact mutation, somebody that's missing exon 45, and you take 50 of those boys, and they're all missing exon 45, each one is going to look different. Each one is going to progress different. There are a lot of variations from nutrition to genetics to care, all those things. So this appropriate exercise needs to be guided by a therapist because what works for one might not work for another. And that changes over time as well. Pure Duchenne has the website. If anybody hasn't been on the website, there are a lot of resources. They tried to build the website. So the organization Cure Duchenne is a parent-started organization, nonprofit organization to help families, to help push research forward, to have resources for families. I'm here partly on the support, or mostly on the support of Cure Duchenne to help educate and learn all of what's going around India. But it was started by a mom and dad, had a child that had Duchenne. It was started, this is our 20th year. And when they were going through this, when their son was diagnosed 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of resources. The doctor said, sorry, there's not much out there. You can take steroids, just take your kid home and love them. Not much else we can do. For Deborah and Paul Miller that started this, that wasn't good enough. And they didn't want other parents to go through that same anguish that they did. So they've been trying to have all these resources available. The website has lots of resources. There's videos on stretching, on school-based physical therapy, on energy conservation, on transfers, on lifting, your child safely, how to do a transfer. All these videos, my colleague Jennifer had made about 18 of these, and they're basically on YouTube, but there's links on the website, and they're excellent things to watch. They're very short. Most of them are 3 to 7 minutes long, so you can give those to a teacher. You can give those to a grandparent. You can give those to somebody else so that they can learn a little bit about Duchenne. Really, really important. Stretching is one of the mainstays of physical therapy. Now, I'm very clear when I talk to families, when I talk to therapists. As a physical therapist, I'm not fixing the child. I'm not getting rid of the Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I wish I could. I wish I could figure out how to completely eradicate it everywhere. What my role is slowing the progression down, teaching the families how to care for the children, and then, like you talked about in the motto and in the vision, getting them out of those four walls of the house, having them as a human being. We all want to feel a part of something. We all want to feel connected to other people or something else. As a physical therapist, I can help guide the family on how to do that, on how to set up opportunities, on how to break down barriers. So it's really important. The physical therapy is not just the physical aspect of it, but helping the families. How do we overcome obstacles? How do we get the school to change their perspective so that they're more inclusive? How do we get the employers to make small changes so that somebody can work there? On the relatively short time that I've been around India, I've met adults with DMD that are doctors, accountants. We met a tailor. These are people that are working. These are people that are getting up in the morning, getting dressed, and going to work. They have a purpose in life, and their employers have made small changes so that they can do that. Or we gave that person ideas of how their employer can make small changes. So on the website, and we can go during question and answer, we can go over stretching specifically, but the stretching should be slow and gradual. The stretching shouldn't hurt. It is sometimes uncomfortable. It's stretching, so you're stretching a tight muscle. So it shouldn't really hurt, but sometimes it is uncomfortable. But the videos that are on there and going over these stretches, they show you how to position your body, where to place your hands. At the end of all of this, my contact information is on there. I am always happy to set up a one-to-one video call. I've done that with a family in Uganda. I've done that with a family in Italy, in Czech Republic, all over. We can sit on Zoom. We can make a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call, and we can go over stretching. That's the beauty of technology now, right? We can talk about, oh, put your hand here, or do it this way or that way. But there's some, we don't have time today to go into all the stretching, but there's good guidance through these videos. Aquatic therapy is an excellent, excellent tool. So when the kids are in the pool, we were just down in Tirunelveli. We saw they work with a lot of kids with Duchenne, and these kids were in the pool, and I had a chance to ask them, how do you like the pool? What do you think? And so many of them said, it's great, I love it. And I said, well, what do you love about it? They said, I could do things in the pool that I can't do on land. On land, they're having to fight gravity. Gravity is not their friend. It's very difficult to raise their arms, to move their legs. In the pool, it removes a lot of that. And so they're able to move around independently, or it just feels good, or they can be active. We saw the kids doing respiratory work in the pool. They had these plastic balls, different colors, and the kids were having to blow the ball across the water. They were just having fun. You know, I talked with a mom here that said that, you know, sometimes the therapist will do the therapy with their child and it's not fun. The kid is crying, the kid is screaming. We want to try to make it enjoyable, make it into a game. I don't want the kids that I see to think they're doing therapy. I want them to think that they're playing. So transfers, there are some videos on 1-person and 2-person transfers, and I think I have the videos in here, and you might just have to press play on there. So I'm going to move out of the way. This is my colleague Jennifer demonstrating. There's just a little delay, so yeah. Just demonstrating how to do a 1-person transfer with someone with Duchenne. The big thing with this, and everybody is different in how you're going to transfer them, but the big thing is to get close to the person, get in there, and you don't want to lift them up by the under the armpits and have them all the way out here, and you're moving them over. Give them a hug. This is your loved one. This is a good chance to give them a hug, and they can hug you. So if you can play that again. So you can see how close she has the person to her. And you can do it in different ways. She put one hand around his back, one hand under his knees, but I've done it sometimes if that's too difficult. I've just hugged him around the chest, brought him close to me, and bring him over. You can see, though, how close the two surfaces are. She's going from the table to the chair. Make sure that you keep those two surfaces close to each other. That's really important. Sometimes I'll ask parents to demonstrate how they do a transfer, and they're going from here, and then the chair is all the way over there. Don't make unnecessary work for yourself. So the two-person transfer, whenever possible, divide the work up. It's just half that you have to do, and it's less of a chance that you'll get hurt. What we usually recommend for two-person transfers is somebody at the top and somebody at the bottom. So somebody up near the arms and somebody down like behind the knees. The biggest thing with this is just that the two people, just to avoid anybody getting hurt, the two people are communicating. 1, 2, 3, go. So, and it makes it much easier when you're dividing up the work. So we can go to the next one. There are also lift transfers. These might not be as readily available here. I'm just showing you some of the options that are available. But there's a sling that goes under the child or the adult, and that's attached to a patient lift, or is that readily available here? Beneath, you guys have those here? Okay, fantastic. So the downside, the upside obviously is it's less work that you have to do because the lift is doing the work for you. The downside to it is that it takes up a good amount of space, and it's sometimes hard to maneuver the lift around if the home is kind of tight. So again, there's not a one solution fits everybody's situation. You have to kind of try these things out. But you can see what I love the most about this video is, and these are not, we're not usually able to get these approved by insurance. This is actually an electric lift. So the boy here is able to press a button and control when he goes up and down. The reason that I love this video so much is that he's in control. There's so much with these boys that happens to them, okay? They're losing control of various physical things. That's a really difficult situation, and that might not be something that they're able to verbalize. So anytime that I can give them back control of something physical, I try to give it back to them. So he's using a lift, yes, and it's so simple. He's pressing the button as opposed to somebody else, but he's in control. He's determining when he's going up and down. So that mentality can be used with anything. When I'm transferring somebody, when I'm getting them from a wheelchair to a bed or a bed to the wheelchair, I always tell the parents, let the child know what you're doing. Even if you've done it 5,000 times, let them know what you're doing. All right, you ready? I'm going to move you from here to there. It's a very passive thing. I mean, if you've ever been injured or in a state where you've had to have somebody take care of you, it's a very passive thing, and a lot is done to you. So if we can give some of that dignity and that independence and that autonomy back to the person, I try to do that any chance I can get. On the Cure Duchenne website, again, different things are available here than are available there. But what I'm learning so strongly is that the Indian people are resourceful people, and you can make almost anything. So we have a durable medical equipment guide, and it's it just lets you know what's out there, and it's divided up into different sections, from foot braces to patient lifts like we had, to different types of wheelchairs, bathroom equipment, all different types of things. And it gives you a little explanation of it and what's the positive and what's the negative. Anytime you have a piece of equipment, anytime there's a positive and there's a negative. You have a power chair, and that gives you independence, and that allows you to move around independently. There's a downside in that it's heavy. It's harder to transport. So you always have to weigh the good and the bad. This is just a kind of a guide to let you know what's out there and talk about the good and the bad. So here's my contact information. Obviously, I'm not Jennifer. I'm Doug, but here's my email. This is my personal phone number. You can call, you can text, you can WhatsApp me. On Facebook, this is my whatever you call it, name profile. I don't go on social media that much, but for Cure Duchenne and for the muscular dystrophy stuff, I do. So you can reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. Lots of different ways to contact me, and I respond. I try to get back as quickly as I can and answer your questions. Again, I'm happy to set up, if you have a one-on-one